Sawadika, it is a delight to see you for Newsline. We're broadcasting on NBT and NBT World, and it's a Monday. The date is October 1st of 2018, and my name is Sandra Han Utsaha. In our first story for this evening's show, Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha has extended an apology to a Chinese tourist hurt by a Dongmyeong airport security guard, saying that it should never have happened and it greatly affects the image of Thailand. The Prime Minister said that the authorities should control their emotions, follow universal rules of behavior, and be service-minded. The Prime Minister has expressed concern about the feelings of the Chinese people and has instructed the Ministry of Tourism and Sports and all related agencies, both in Thailand and China, to accelerate restoration of confidence among Chinese tourists. Police Major General Soratet Hakpan has been appointed to the position of Commissioner of the Immigration Bureau.
Acting Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Bureau, Police Lieutenant General Suttipong Wongbin, handed on the role to Police Major General Soratet. Both also attended a merit-making ceremony marking the occasion. Police Major General Soratet said that the Bureau, under his direction, would remain strict on checking the eligibility of passengers to enter the kingdom at entry points, while implementing technology to comply with the government's Thailand 4.0 initiative. He also revealed a plan to enlist 1,000 more employees to accommodate the rising number of visitors to the nation. The new Immigration Bureau Commissioner also touched on the issue of officials allegedly extorting tour operators, promising the public to tighten the regulations to prevent the issue from damaging the image of the nation. He said banners will also be erected to inform tourists that there are no extra charges for immigration processing. In addition, an investigation into the matter will be launched this week to find the culprits. Violators will be prosecuted and are likely to face embezzlement charges.
And on to our next story. The Trade Policy and Strategy Office has reported 1.33% inflation in September, marking 15 months of consecutive depreciation of the Thai baht due to rising energy prices. Fuel prices rose by 11.98%, while food and non-alcoholic beverages rose by 0.35% overall. However, September's inflation rate was lower than August's 1.62%, as the price of fresh food dropped by 1.16%. Improving weather conditions drove up the output of 221 food products out of 422 items used to calculate inflation, which include rice, cooking gas, and powdered milk. The price of 84 items remained stable, while others such as fresh pork, chicken eggs, and cilantro plummeted by as much as 46.6%. The average inflation rate for the first 9 months of the year stands at 1.14%. Director of the Trade Policy and Strategy Office, Pim Chanok Wankapon, said energy prices remain a risk factor that could raise the cost of goods. She said prices are likely to fluctuate and increase towards the end of the year according to demand. Although agricultural prices have fallen, the average income of farmers and wages rose. Inflation for the entire year is expected at between 0.8 and 1.6%, with an average estimate of 1.25%. A conference on the Eastern Economic Corridor, or EEC, in Rayong Province held by the Thai Chamber of Commerce has revealed that most SME operators are facing several challenges. The conference underlined that SME owners are experiencing difficulty in investment, management, finding market direction, among others. The conference, which is also being co-hosted by the Rayong Chamber of Commerce, aims at updating the progress of the EEC implementation. Participants examined approaches on economic development in the region and the connectivity between the state and the private sector. The meeting also talked about the progress of the winning project, which emphasizes trade, investment and border trade, agriculture and food, and tourism and services. It's time for a short break now, but we will be right back with more news after these messages, so stay tuned.
where amazing is never ending. Everywhere has a charming Thai way of life. Every moment is filled with joy and truly refreshes the soul. Every sense is awakened with unforgettable flavours to tempt your taste buds. Only a smile can make friends for no reason. Let's experience Thainess and share your moments with us. Thailand awaits you in the Amazing Thailand Tourism Year 2018.
Welcome back to the program and on to our next story. The Department of Land Transport, or DLT, is monitoring public van activity at Bangkok's Victory Monument after its ban on 10-year-old public vans took effect. DLT Director General Pirapon Thawan Supacharan, along with soldiers from the Royal Palace Guard 2nd Cavalry Division, patrolled Victory Monument to monitor compliance by van operators. The officials found that operators have cooperated with the new mandate and an orderly transition was taking place. Although passengers at Victory Monument reported longer wait times, their overall travel plans have yet to be disrupted. Officials have also coordinated with the Bangkok Mass Transit Authority to supply an additional 65 buses to accommodate passengers during rush hour. October 1st marks the beginning of the new mandate, resulting in the decommission of 840 vans. Those who refuse to comply face a fine of 20,000 to 100,000 baht and jail time of up to 5 years. The private sector has organized the 21st Sahapat Admission Cramming Study Session for high school students, preparing them for the Thai University Central Admission System, or TCAS, examinations. The free study session, which is supported by the Ministry of Education, aims to help students review their class lessons before taking university entrance exams and to eliminate educational inequality among the up-and-coming. Dr. Thiraket Terensethasin, the Education Minister, presided over the opening ceremony of the study session. Organized by Sahapatanapiboon Company Limited and Nation Broadcasting Corporation Limited, the mass study session was attended by more than 150,000 high school students from around the nation. The Education Minister expressed gratitude towards the hosts for taking the initiative in promoting education. He also mentioned the free online tutoring website, saying the initiative has improved the students' performance. Dr. Thiraket also reminded the attendees to review progress with their peers when they return. He explained that doing so would exercise the frontal lobe of the brain and eventually help them to perform better in the tests. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that is responsible for motor function, problem solving, spontaneity, memory, language, initiation, judgment, impulse control, and social behavior. In our next story, the Open Access Art Event Bangkok Biennial has seen expatriate artists showcase their new works that explore unusual ways of telling untold stories of our city, and our NBT correspondent Tanabun Lut reports.
As part of the Bangkok Biennial event, two expatriate artists are showing their new works in a shophouse tucked away in Soi Nana. The exhibition features new painting and photographs that tell uncovered story of Bangkok. UK-born artist Justin Mills has been in Thailand for 22 years. Working as a DJ, he combines live from song and poems with oil painting. In a grassy screen at the edge of the Bubble series, he experiments with typography by mirroring and turning letters upside down to slow down the process of appreciating artworks in a fast-paced digital world.
So I've used a font that I kind of developed in order to slow down the reading process because it's very difficult to get someone to look at a painting for more than a few seconds. And also, the longer you look at something, maybe the more is going to sort of soak into you.
One of his highlights is the future. Using the lyrics of the rock band Radiohead, this piece conveys the desperation of people in Bangkok and around the world over current social and political situations. Meanwhile, French-British artist Cedric Arnaud has been in Thailand for 17 years. Working as a photographer and filmmaker, he turned his passion for the visual arts into the curated memory series. Inspired by the instant film negative of the Polaroid, he goes back in time among stacks of photos and curates pieces of his memory that are fluid, susceptible, and reinventable.
My time spent here as an expat in Bangkok, and in a way it's the truth and it's also a lie. So I take some inspiration from how we project images of ourselves these days on social media and how we sort of reinvent our own memories, etc.
His installation features monochrome photos in a dark room, including the spirit house dangling on a cable line, the blurred image, and the defaces figure. His collection documents fading memories of many areas in Bangkok, including Klong San, Chinatown, and Talat Noi, which have changed over the years or vanished due to urbanization. Being expatriates helped shape creative practices. Despite the dearth of funding, living in Thailand inspires and offers them opportunities to showcase their work in numerous art spaces, including the underground exhibition Bangkok Biennial. Thanabul Lerth, reporting for NBT.
And in our ASEAN stories, Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs Dr. Somkit Tatusipitak has held a meeting to discuss measures for increasing the connectivity of capital markets in the region. Dr. Somkit attended a meeting of the Committee on Developing Connectivity between the capital markets in Thailand and the region. Also present were Finance Minister Apisak Dantiwarawong and representatives of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, or SET, and the Bank of Thailand, or BOT. The meeting serves as a preliminary discussion for agencies to prepare how to implement the proposals. Apisak revealed afterwards that agencies brainstormed measures to increase connectivity with the region. SET representatives proposed furthering relationships with the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong due to previous interest in promoting joint fund management. BOT representatives proposed increasing the use of local currencies and adopting a universal QR code standard in order to reduce transaction barriers. Meanwhile, the insurance sector expressed its intent to provide regional insurance while operating out of Thailand. It was also in favor of expanding to the CLMV countries of Cambodia, Lao PDR, Myanmar, and Vietnam. And the Thailand Professional Qualifications Institute, or TPQI, has cooperated with Japanese agencies to train factory technicians to meet industry demand. TPQI Director Pisit Rangsarit Wutikun signed the memorandum with JMA Management Center to develop curriculum standards and an e-learning system to produce qualified factory technicians to accommodate projects by Japanese investors. The course will focus on raising the management standards and effectiveness of trainees. The signing ceremony was witnessed by Deputy Prime Minister Air Chief Marshal Prachin Jantong and the Japanese ambassador to Thailand. JMA Management Center provides human resources development services in Japan through e-learning solutions. And as Thailand will assume the post of ASEAN chair next year, let's have a look at one of the bloc's key moments, namely that of establishing legal connectivity among its member states.
The Association of Southeast Asian Nations consists of 10 member states and is diverse in governmental and political systems, economic statuses, cultures, and traditions. The formation of ASEAN was never an easy task and must focus on connectivity. At the 17th ASEAN Summit, which took place in Hanoi, Vietnam in 2010, member states agreed on the adoption of the Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity, or MPAC, as the main strategy to encompass the physical, institutional, and people-to-people linkages that are the foundation supportive means to achieving the economic, political security, and socio-cultural pillars of an integrated ASEAN community. Institutional connectivity means to put in place strategies, agreements and legal as well as institutional mechanisms to effectively realize the ASEAN connectivity, including those to facilitate trade in goods and services, and the appropriate types of investment policies and legal frameworks to ensure that the investments are protected to attract the private sector investments. The key elements of institutional connectivity are trade liberalization and facilitation, investment and services liberalization and facilitation, mutual recognition agreements, regional transport agreements, cross-border procedures, and capacity building programs. Today, there are a number of agreements and frameworks to promote connectivity. However, many of them have yet to enter into force and some require amendments for practicality. These agreements include the ASEAN Framework Agreement on Facilitation of Goods in Transit and the ASEAN Framework Agreement on Multimodal Transport, among others.
And on to our next story. On the occasion of the International Day for Universal Access to Information, which falls on the 28th of September of every year, UNESCO has joined hands with Thailand to promote universal access to the Internet because it is a vital tool to driving forward the creative economy in Southeast Asia. And our correspondent has more details for us. Thailand's Creative Economy Agency, in cooperation with UNESCO, has launched a collaborative exhibition and roundtable discussion on the concept of Internet universality beyond words, aimed at raising public awareness of the importance of the Internet based on human rights, openness, accessibility, and multi-stakeholder participation. This is in line with 2030 Sustainable Development Goal. UNESCO has long recognized that the Internet has enormous potential to bring the world closer to peace, sustainable development, and the eradication of poverty. According to UNESCO, the Internet is a powerful tool in upgrading Thailand's creative economy, as 82% of the Thai population already has access to the Internet, and the trend is on the rise.
Creative economy cannot happen if people don't connect, or share or exchange the experience, the information, or even their skill. So the internet will help to facilitate that issue. And moreover, as a CEA, we are trying to digitize many kinds of knowledge through the internet, of course. And we have invented many kinds of service to reach out to the people in the countryside, aims to provide accessibility for the people in every province to our database to be able to look into the knowledge that we built throughout years and connect people to the right kind of people that they want to connect with, especially in the people in the creative industry.
During the roundtable discussion on the topic of artistic freedom, participating artists jointly agreed that the freedom of speech is a vital element in the development of creative economy, and Thailand is improving legal environment for internet access nationwide.
The creative economy is a knowledge-based economy, so you have the right to access information, and also for creators you have a channel, the right to disseminate your work. With the use of this concept and also the indicators that have been developed, I hope that multi-stakeholder participation will increase, and that means people, everyone in general, would have their say in the policy and development of the internet.
The exhibition features the works of 11 creative individuals, which highlight the aspirations and challenges for artists when working with the internet. It is open to public for free until 14th of October 2018 from 10:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day except Monday. And the United States and Canada have forged a last-gasp deal to salvage NAFTA as a trilateral pact with Mexico, rescuing a three-country, $1.2 trillion open trade zone that had been about to collapse after nearly a quarter century. In a big victory for his agenda to shake up an era of global free trade that many associate with the signing of NAFTA in the year 1994, U.S. President Donald Trump coerced Canada and Mexico to accept more restrictive commerce with their main export partner. Trump's primary objective in reworking NAFTA was to bring down U.S. trade deficits. While the new United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, avoids tariffs, it will make it harder for global automakers to build cars cheaply in Mexico and is aimed at bringing more jobs into the United States. The deal will preserve a trade dispute settlement mechanism that Canada fought hard to maintain to protect its lumber industry and other sectors from U.S. anti-dumping tariffs, Canadian sources said. Canada has agreed to provide U.S. dairy farmers access to about 3.5% of its approximately $16 billion annual domestic dairy market, but the deal failed to resolve U.S. tariffs on Canada's steel and aluminum exports. In a joint statement, Canada and the United States said the deal would, quote, result in freer markets, fairer trade, and robust economic growth in our region, end quote. A senior U.S. official said U.S. officials intend to sign the agreement with Canada and Mexico at the end of November, after which it would be submitted to the U.S. Congress for approval. And that brings us to the end of this evening's edition of Newsline. If you have any comments or suggestions, do feel free to email them to us at our email address, which is newsline.nbt@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook by simply typing in NNT, and check out our show on Facebook Live and other content at the website, which is thainews.prd.go.th/en. Thank you for joining me, Sandra Han Utsaha, and the rest of the Newsline team. Swadika.